Hey guys, it is yet another surprisingly wonderful day here in Maryland. So I thought today it was going to be like 60, 62 degrees, so I was a little worried it was going to be cold. But no, it was actually over 70 degrees today. Just another absolutely beautiful day. So since it's so beautiful, I'm going to grab a little fish food from inside our garage to try to show you guys some of the fish today. Oops, oh, we actually got some fish food already out. So now that it's warm, the thing is like with our koi, you can't feed koi when it's under a certain temperature. Basically, they just don't eat. So one of the nice things about being warm, we can finally start feeding the koi again. So I've got some fish food here. I'll go down to the pond. One of the projects I've been working on today is I have to fix a lot of the trim in the house. So in the house, all the outside walls, they're all that old 150-year-old barn wood. So the project today has been staining some wood so I can do repair work. So I've just been out here staining this stuff. Now, one of the things for you guys to be thinking about, though, like the real world of like technology and business. Now, this is still a little wet. It still needs to dry, so it doesn't look perfect. But I really like how this wood looks. You get some nice stain on here. These are some pine boards. You throw on some cheap stain, and it looks good, especially for the environment it's going into. But what's kind of cool is if you look at the bottom, you can see just how like crappy pine wood that they are normally. And so this is just something to be thinking about. Again, like in the real world of business, is how do you take relatively inexpensive, the equivalent of relatively inexpensive pine wood, throw on some, again, equivalent, relatively inexpensive stain, and turn it into something that is pretty. If you learn how to do that in business, that is when you become really successful. Again, anybody can go out and buy like cherry or oak or really high quality wood and turn it into something pretty. But the problem is all of that stuff is really expensive, and so the profit margin usually isn't there. So what you do is you go out there and you find some relatively inexpensive pine. You then make that pine look pretty, and all of a sudden you got a nice profit margin because you have something that looks as good as if you used a higher quality wood, but you used a lower quality wood. There we go for profit, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, doing that. And as far as anybody out there being snarky about the quality of wood that I'm using, actually, to be honest with you, the inside of our barn is old pine wood anyway. So this is basically, this actually matches the texture of all the wood inside the barn. So if I got nice, that's one of the ironic things too, just to think about. If I got nicer wood, like if I did get oak or I got even better quality pine, which I could, which would be technically more expensive, it actually wouldn't look right. It wouldn't look normal because all the wood that was used in there was basically just low quality wood that you use for a barn. So if you go in there and you put high quality wood over top, it would kind of look a little odd. Again, just one of those random lessons in life. But let's see, let's go down. Whoop, got some fishies down here. Show off the fishies for you guys. I'm very happy. The fish have been coming out more and more. So in the beginning, I was worried about how many fish had survived over the winter. But like every time I go out here to feed the fish, more and more and more of them show up. As you can see, these are all our nice little koi. We've got our nice little fish pond. I tell you guys, if you want something just very relaxing and very nice, a koi pond is truly a beautiful thing. And it's really nice to see how big some of these koi are growing. Because a lot of these koi we actually got like 5 years ago when they were a lot smaller. So like every year they grow bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So who knows, maybe in like 10 years we're still here. They'll be like absolutely massive fish. So like that white one right there, that's Chloe. She was one of the first of the koi that we got. And then there's Ferdinand. Ferdinand is that one right. Can you see him? Ferdinand's the one right there. So those were the first two that we got. But they're looking good. And then the goldfish I was talking about. Look at that goldfish right there. See that guy right there? That is a freaking goldfish. You know the type of goldfish that you normally have like in your little fish bowl? That is literally one of those. So again, way back when I bought 50 or so, the goldfish, that's what they turn into. And see that white one right there? See that? That's a goldfish. Those two are goldfish. So if you're ever like, I wonder how big just a normal goldfish will get if you give them food and put them in a big pond, that is how massive the suckers are. So yeah, so this is just our nice little going out here and feeding the fish. One of the things I like about koi too is there's no vet bills. You know, when you have a cat or when you have a dog, something goes wrong and there's all kinds of vet bills. and something goes wrong with a fish, they just kind of go belly up. And that's about it. But anyways, these are our fish, and this is how you go about feeding the fish. Very nice. I'm very happy to see the fish again. It's kind of one of those weird things during the winter. You have all these fish in this pond, and then like recently, it really wasn't that long ago, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, the entire pond was like frozen over. But now it's nice. We can feed the fish. We can look at the fish. Just sit out there, and that is one thing. Like, I do miss beer. I do miss beer for like these spring nights. Not really to get drunk, but you know, drinking beer is kind of an entertainment. Like in a way that, I don't know, it's like comforting. You know how you drink tea at night. You know, you drink coffee in the morning, and some of drinking coffee in the morning is about the caffeine, and some of it is just there's something very comforting about drinking coffee in the morning. And like drinking tea at night, as my wife and I cuddle up, you know, before bed, you know, there's something comforting about that. One of the things I do miss with beer is there is something very comforting. We're just kind of sitting there with a beer in your hand, throwing the fish food out, just watching them, drinking the beer a little bit. It's one thing I do miss with the beer thing, but oh well. Not good for the system, not good for the system. As far as health and all that kind of stuff goes, I am in the 201 range as for today. As far as weight goes, I'm in 201. I was so sad yesterday, I was so sad. Got back from spinning class, so spinning class, you know, 60 minutes, get on the scale to weigh myself, and came in at 201.1. Right? So whenever I tell you guys weight now, I just figure I'll give it to you as like the major number just to make things a little bit easier. But I was just sitting there. I was like, darn it. If I had just crapped before I had gotten on the scale, I would have been down in the 200 range. But instead, I'm at 201.1. But, you know, I was at 201.1 yesterday, and I'm at 201.5 today. So again, not dropping weight massively, but just continuing to go down little by little. So like the highest weight I was this week is still lower than I was last week. And so it just keeps going down and down and down. But you do look at that number sometimes. You're like, darn it, I knew I should have taken a poop before I weighed myself. Darn. As far as exercise goes though, yesterday again, like I said, I did the spinning. Spinning was good. We did it for an hour. And then I've just exhausted myself these past couple of days. Because like I said, I do the exercise in the morning, which is a normal exercise thing. And then I go on this 2.5 mile, 3 mile walk at night and talk to you guys. And then the last 2 days, yesterday and the day before, I then also added a dump run in there. Ugh. And that's basically why I didn't do the video last night. So, you know, we've got a lot of stuff that has to get dragged from the house as I do these construction projects and taken to dump. And I have to tell you, adding a dump run onto the other stuff that I was doing was kind of like one of those bridges too far. Like, I was able to do it, but I was definitely exhausted afterwards, because especially with doing a dump run, you know, I fill up my pickup truck with all the crap. So I've got an F-150. You can fit a lot of crap into an F-150, especially when you strap it down. So you've got all of those bits and pieces that's got to go in the truck. And then in order to make it fit, you got to rip apart a lot of these things because they're old construction material, so you rip it apart. And then when you're moving these things, so like when you pick up a board or a 2x4 or whatever, it's got nails and stuff in it. So not only is it relatively heavy, but then you got to make sure you don't smack yourself with a rusty nail, right? So it takes a lot out of you. So you put all that into the truck, then you have to drive it all the way to the dump, then you pull it out of the truck. That's own bit of exercise. So after I did the dump run yesterday, I was just kind of like, I'm done. I meant to do a video, I meant to do a vlog yesterday, and then frankly, by the time I got around to like walking, I was just like, you know what? I think I'm done. I think I can skip my vlog for today. So that's why I didn't do the vlog yesterday. And then this morning, I actually skipped the gym. Not for being tired, but actually because I didn't really sleep well last night. Again, one of those random things to think about with your health and professional development and all that kind of stuff is one of the things I've found in life is the warmer it gets, the less I want to sleep, the harder it is for me to go to sleep at night. So like when it's cold outside, I want to go to sleep early. When it's cold and dark, I want to go to sleep early, like 9:30 and I'm passed out. What's weird is once the temperature starts spiking up, getting hotter, and it's actually harder for me to go to sleep at night. So like last night, for like the first time in months, like literally, I was up past midnight and didn't even mean to. It's not like I had an extra cup of coffee or I did something specific. It was just with the temperature inside, like 77 degrees or something. It was just my body was just like, I don't want to go to sleep. So it was like that weird thing where, you know, like you have like a routine at night. So your wife's there, you drink your bedtime tea, she goes to bed, and normally I watch another show, and then I go up to bed. And instead, I'm sitting there and I'm watching another show. I watch another show, and then watch another show, and then I watch another show, and then I watch another show. I ended up watching like 4 or 5 shows until I say it was about midnight. And then I just turn off the TV and I kind of stare at the wall. And then about half an hour later, I drag myself into bed. So that's why I skipped the gym this morning, just because she woke up at 5 o'clock. And I was like, eh. I was like, I don't want to go. I just, like, I'm not tired in that way. I'm tired in the just being a tired way. So I skipped. And it was funny though to see like how having an exercise routine compares to not having an exercise routine. So I went to sleep, and then I woke up at like 6:40 or something. And it was funny, like as I'm dragging myself down the stairs in the morning, my wife comes back and she's all bouncy and she's all awake and she's done her like 45 minutes of exercise. And she's like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, shut up, right? But again, it's just one of those, it's one of those curious things to see, you know, how different routines and all that kind of stuff work. Because you wake up early and you get your exercise in, you know, you're feeling good by like 7 o'clock. I was talking with somebody. They were like, wow, how early in the morning do you wake up? Because I was responding to emails. And I was like, oh, I'm waking up at like 5 o'clock in the morning now, doing the exercise. And the thing is, if you wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and do the exercise, then like by 8 o'clock, I mean, you're like on top of the game. You're like, it's not only that you can work, but that you really want to work. Again, one of those random things to think about. Back when I did security, we had our regional supervisor when I was in DC, and it was curious to see him work, because what everybody talked about was that all the clients for the company really, really liked him. And the reason is he was a retired colonel out of the Army. And so what he would do is, just because after 20 some odd years of being in the military, he was completely used to waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning. So he would wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, be to work at 5 o'clock in the morning. Now I know that sounds insane, but think about this. So when he got to work, all the emails and all the work and all the crap, because it's a 24-hour operation for security, all the crap that builds up, he could come in at 5 o'clock in the morning and get his desk entirely clear by 7 o'clock. So all the managers, all the clients that were having problems, all the employee issues, all the supervisor issues, all that stupid stuff, he was already able to assess what was going on, come up with solutions, and actually have all the emails and communications going out before most people even got in the door. And it's one of those things to be thinking about. If you want to keep clients really happy, have them walking into the morning, have their first email be how you solved their problem before they even showed up. That's gonna make them happy. But yeah, so that's what the exercise routine is. I figure I'll go spinning tomorrow. We'll do our nice little hour-long spinning class, and then we'll see what we're gonna do. Because it is weird with weather. I mean, like, if it's nice, I'd like to go out and do something pretty nice. But with Maryland, you never really know. Again, like I say, it's supposed to be 62 degrees today. It's like 75, which means tomorrow it could be supposed to be 62 degrees, and it might be 45. You really have no clue when it comes to Maryland. But anyways, as far as a topic for today, as far as a topic goes for today, I want to talk about the #1 improvement that I see that YouTube should implement ASAP. So again, when I talk to you guys, I always try to make it topical, and how this is topical is with the whole WTFU kerfuffle and all that kind of stuff. I have happened to randomly or weirdly start up communication, as I've talked about, with grade A under A. So grade A under A made a lot of noise about all the issues with YouTube. then I made a lot of noise that not everybody agrees with, but still made a lot of noise. And so he communicated with me a while ago, and we've been emailing back and forth. And the thing is with him, like with me, and this is where you always have to understand where you fall in life. It's very important to understand exactly what your power is. And so for me, like my power in life is I have a lot of control over me and my relationship. So me and my relationship to YouTube, I have a significant amount of power. The reason is because I bring in both YouTube and me a decent amount of money. Again, YouTube can hire somebody and pay somebody full-time with benefits off of the amount of money that I bring them. And therefore, when I get all pissed off and mad, you know, they got to deal with me a little bit. Again, there is a limit to how much they will deal with me. I do not, again, as ego and arrogance is concerned, I'm egotistical, not arrogant. I know the limits. So as far as my relationship with YouTube is concerned, you know, like I have a decent amount of control over my relationship with YouTube. But the thing is, for me, I don't have anything else. It's like, my relationship with YouTube is something that I can deal with, but like when other people contact me, when people say, hey Eli, I'm having a problem too, help me out. The reality is my power doesn't really extend to anybody else. It's like YouTube deals with me as I make the money, but that's not really like power. That's not really like something significant. The interesting thing with Grade A Under A is he's like one of the fastest growing YouTubers right now. That son of a bitch. Oh my God, you want to talk about being jealous? You want to talk about like balls out being jealous of a YouTuber? Motherfucker. I looked at his Social Blade stats yesterday, and he's gotten like 350,000 subscribers in the last 30 days. Not in a year, not in 6 months. In 30 freaking days, he's gotten like 320,000 or 350,000 new subscribers. Has something like 20 million views per month, like already. And you can see with his content, you can see with his quality and where it's going. He's only gonna be going up from here, right? And so the interesting thing with Grade A is he actually has some power outside of just himself, because the things that he says carries more weight with the overall YouTube community. Again, like I say, I mean, if I get pissed off about YouTube or whatever, how much do they really care? I mean, even if all of my subscribers walked away, they wouldn't be overly happy about it, but I'm not saying that, but you know, it's not like it would be overly tragic for them either. Thing is, like when you have somebody like Grade A who's up to like, I don't know, 1.2 million subscribers already and growing quickly, you know, it's one of those things where at the very least you want to try to placate that type of person and keep them happy, because he's the type of person that's really going to grow YouTube into the future, I would argue. It's like, you know, when you look at the types of content that are really good for YouTube and really good for like viral growth and all that kind of stuff, that kind of whatever the hell stick figure snarky stuff that he does is good. And so with that, with all of his complaints about YouTube has reached out to him a couple of times. This isn't Batcave, he's talked about this. And so, you know, they have discussions back and forth. And so what was interesting today is we've been emailing back and forth about different things, and I've been hammering home the whole point of this whole fair use thing. Like, hey, Grade A, I really like you, so let me show you a couple of things going on in the real world. And so like I've emailed him like links to like actual lawsuits that are going on and other stuff, and we've been going back and forth. So it was interesting today. So he emailed me and he said, hey, you know, gonna have a discussion or whatever. And so, you know, just generally reaching out, talking to people and saying, what are the 3 significant things for YouTube? Because one of the problems that you get into in life, you know, whenever you go into a negotiation strategy, or you go into negotiation, you're trying to figure out your strategy, is that everybody wants everything, right? Like if I created a laundry list of all the issues with YouTube, it's a lot, it's big, right? I did a video not that long ago. I think I had 19 slides. And I kind of cut it short with 19 slides. I could probably do 30 or 40 genuine slides, like slides I could argue with all the problems with YouTube. Problem is when you get into negotiations and you're trying to deal with issues, is that nobody can deal with 40 problems or 30 problems or even 20 problems, right? When you put 20 problems on the table and you say, these are all the issues that I have with the platform or whatever, it's just not going to go anywhere because it's just too many things for people to deal with. Now, you may know that there's like 20 issues with a platform, or 20 issues with your boss, or 20 issues with whatever. But what you do is instead of hammering away on all 20 issues to begin with, you pick the most important issues, right? So out of 20, you look at it and you think, okay, what are the most important problems that we're dealing with YouTube right now? And so that's where you come up with a strategy. You come up with 3. So he reaches out to me and just like, okay, curious, you know what would you say are the 3 most important problems? And now this is a curious thing too, and this is one of those things that I want you guys to be thinking about as you start giving your opinions, as you start talking to the world. Is one of the biggest problems that I see with folks on social media, and especially with noobs, is here's the thing. Noobs say whatever the hell is going through their brain because they don't honestly believe anybody is going to be listening to them. Right? You know, if you see all the stupid crap noobs and a lot of these twits are spewing online about how the world should be or whatever, the reason that they're able to say that is because they know that nobody is actually going to listen to it, right? So they can say whatever the hell goes through their own stupid ass heads because at the end of the day, it just fundamentally doesn't matter. So one of the things that I want you guys to be thinking about is whenever you communicate with anybody and you're talking about decisions that should be made, I want you to start acting as if people will take your opinion seriously. As if when you state whatever it is that you're stating, that they will actually use that opinion to go forward. So again, like imagine if somebody was saying their boss was being mean to them, you know, oh, my boss is being mean to me or whatever. And so a lot of these people, you know what, man, if I were you, I'd just go in there and hit them. Right? Like how many people say crap like that? Right? And it's all funny, it's all hilarious. But think about it. What if the person that listened to what you were saying actually went in and hit their boss and then got arrested for assault and all that? Would you still give that same advice? Would you still give the same advice if you thought that people were actually going to listen and actually take action based on what you say? And so this is one of the things, like a lot of people don't realize with the words that I use and a lot of the commentary, one of the reasons why I'm so pragmatic with so much of the advice that I give is it's not moral, it's not ethical, it's not all this high horse crap. Because at the end of the day, I actually expect many of you to use it. And the reality is moral and ethical and high horse crap just doesn't work in the real world, right? You know, you go in there and you start fighting for the rights of everybody, and you're just gonna get beat down for the most part. On the other hand, if you go in and you're pragmatic and you move up the ranks, you know, right now when you're a peon, right now when you're a cog in the machine, nobody cares what you think. And if you start getting out of line, all that's gonna happen is you're gonna get fired and things are gonna go badly. You go in there, you do your nice cog in the machine, you become a manager, you become like a director, right? So, you know, you got your peon, you got your assistant, team lead, you got your manager, and then you got like a director of a region. Well, guess what? Once you're a director of a region, then you can actually do things, right? So like I say, if we start talking about like minority rights or, you know, social justice warrior type crap, right? This whole thing, oh, we gotta fight. Well, here's the thing. You can either argue with your manager about how the manager needs to do whatever else. You're doing things wrong, right? And the manager's gonna look at you and think, you know what? My wife was fighting with me this morning. I think my kid has a drug habit. What most of these morons and these employee morons in here don't realize is how bad off this company is financially. I'm kind of worried that not only am I going to have to lay these people off, but basically I'm going to have to lay these people off about 2 seconds before my boss lays me off. And then you have this person coming in here all high horse, right? Is that really going to work? Is that actually going to do something effective? Or is it simply going to piss off the boss, and the boss is either not going to promote you or stick you in the back, basically stick you in the equivalent of the Arctic, or just fire you because you're annoying. On the other hand, if you go in there and you're a little more pragmatic about things, and you do what the boss says, especially when you're a noob, and you move up, you go to assistant manager. When you're an assistant manager, hey, guess what? Assistant manager's got a little bit of discretion. Not a lot of discretion, but a little bit of discretion. So all those views you have in your head about how the hell the world should be, Well, you just start using that discretion just a tiny little bit, right? And then you go to the manager position. And when you go to the manager position, now you're responsible for things like hiring. Now you're responsible for things like firing. Now you're responsible for disciplinary action. So then you look at the rules, and again, you start tweaking things. You start using your discretion even more. And then you get up to the director level, and the director level is actually making the policy that all the managers follow, right? And so if you wait to actually be pragmatic, you can actually get something fucking done. Whereas if you just sit there and you rail against the machine, motherfucker, the machine is gonna shred your ass. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, can't fight you can fight the machine. No doubt you can fight the machine. The machine will win. But anyways, okay, so he reaches out to me. And it's like, okay, if you have three things that are really important for YouTube, to make YouTube better, what would you do? And so I'm coming at it from the idea of whatever I say, grade A will at least listen to. Hopefully we'll take it to heart. And then if he takes it to heart, again, and this is how you leverage power. I do not have the power to tell YouTube to do anything other than stop fucking with me, right? You know, I'm strong. And again, you know, like as an Aspie, I understand the difference between keeping people from attacking me and keeping people from attacking other people. I have the strength to keep myself safe. Sorry, boys and girls. The rest of y'all are screwed, right? And it's not being mean, it's not being snarky, I just know my own limitations, right? And so the thing is what you can do is you can leverage other people's power because they come to you or they look to you and they ask for advice. They are higher up in the food chain. They are more significant to the people that are important. So you kind of insert ideas in their head and you give them good arguments so that they go argue your point. This is a lesson that I learned a long time ago, and it was very powerful. It's kind of hard to explain how the world works to a lot of people, but it was the amazing thing, like, I ran into this situation, it's hard to explain, but I ran into this situation years ago, and I walked into this place, and this place was like amazing. It was like absolutely like everything that I would have ever imagined, and plus some, like the things that weren't how I would have imagined were better. They were. So I go in there and start talking to people, and what I realized, and what come to find out, is that this is somebody that had actually listened to me before, and that they had actually taken my ideas to create something. So without my knowledge, without my knowing, without my support, without my resources, without any of that, the ideas that I transmitted went into this other person, and they literally did what I would have argued they should do, and actually made it better. And so that's the thing, you go out there and you kind of infect people with these ideas so that they're going out, and even when you're asleep, they're still fighting for whatever it is, right? So anyways, so great, it comes to me. I was like, okay, so this person, you know, he respects me enough to ask. He has an in to YouTube, and so I've got to think. So what are the three things? What are the three things that I should tell grade A that I think are most significant? And so I go through, right, you know, with the whole WT, you know, where's the fair use thing? You know, there's questions about, you know, the whole escrow account for money. You know, if there's an issue with copyright and somebody claims that you use their copyright material, they immediately start taking the money for that video until the dispute is finalized. And if you win the dispute, they still keep the money. But it's like, okay, well, I mean, that's an issue. That's an issue, definitely. And I start thinking about it, it's like, okay, well, what are issues? And, you know, there's issues with that I think everybody, like over 100,000 people, other 100,000 subscribers should have a direct line to a partner manager. And I think their whole partner manager system should work a lot better, right? And I'm going through all these things. But one of the things to think about is, again, whenever anybody asks you for three pieces of information, you know, if they say, you know, if there's three things that need to be fixed, one thing that you also have to realize is that they're going to be listening to other people, right? So again, I would hope that he just goes out and he reaches out to other people, sees what these other people are thinking, right? And so those other people are going to give advice. So if I give three pieces of advice and I don't know, Linus Tech Tips gives 3 pieces of advice, and Philip DeFranco gives 3 pieces of advice. Let's say it goes out to all these people. And the thing is, if everybody gives 3 pieces of advice, it's going to turn into like 15 pieces of advice. But again, he can only go back with 3. So then, if you put in 3 to this whole mess, then basically the percentage chance that the person is actually going to take the advice that you're giving gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And then the problem that you also run into is whenever you give advice, there's advice of higher and lower priority. So, you know, if I'm looking at all these issues with YouTube, again, things like the monetization or whatever with copyrighted material, again, I would argue that's not the highest priority out there. You know, I start looking at things, and again, if I give 3 pieces of advice, one thing's gonna be really high value, one thing's gonna be middle value, and then one thing's probably gonna be pretty much throwaway, right? You know, 3 things, these are the 3 things. And so, generally in that scenario, best case scenario, because again, if it goes out and talks to many other people, then best case scenario, what normally happens is the person picks the one piece of advice that you found the lowest possible value, and then goes and presents that. As again, right, you don't have control over the other person. You can manipulate. Again, manipulation is slightly moving. It's like it's parrying. It's where you know, somebody goes to hit you and you just tap it just out of the way. That's like with Kempo, like when you learn how to parry, is you don't control them. You don't force where the fist goes. You just guide it slightly this way, and then you hurt them. And so you can do the guidance. So I'm sitting here, I'm like, okay, what are the 3 things? And I think about it, it's like, well, again, there's high value things and low value things. But what really is the crux of the problem? And that's one thing you have to think about too, is when you're trying to solve a problem, is there one solution that solves numerous other problems, right? Because again, when you're looking at things, when you're looking at partner managers, when you're looking at where's the fair use, when you're looking at this, when you're looking at all these things, it's like, you know what? There's a core to this. There's a fundamental core issue to all the problems that are going on in YouTube. And what I would argue, if you really look at all the issues, the core problem with all the issues is that YouTube itself as a platform is considered the other. So I talk about this a lot in business, especially when you're doing business, is you don't want the other party to be the other. You want to be in this together. So if I have employees, my employees and I are in this together. If I have clients, my employees, my clients and I are in this together. You know, there is we and there is other. When you're dealing with a we, when you're dealing with one of us, things are just a lot easier generally, right? Because if you're dealing with one of us, if you're dealing with one of you, then you're not going to be so hard-ass with things, because you know you're going to continue dealing with them. It becomes a relationship, right? And relationships are things that span years and even decades. You know, these are people you go back to again and again and again and again. And so you work with them in a different way than you do with people that you're only going to see once or twice, right? So a lot of times, again, like I say, with business relationships, you know, it's we. You know, I'll swallow costs. If I go in there and the project is $1,000 more expensive than I thought, and I know, because I know the client, and I know the client isn't going to be able to pay, or is truly going to be upset about it, I'll just swallow that $1,000. Not because I'm weak, not because, you know, there's some whatever, you know, moral, ethical thing. I just know, look, if I charge this person $1,000 more now, even though I'm in the right, it's going to piss them off. It's going to create a bad relationship. And in 2 months, when they need another project, instead of picking up the phone and immediately calling me, they're gonna shop around and see if there's anybody better. So you know what? I'm just gonna have this $1,000 bill just disappear, because it's just not worth it. It's not worth the risk to the relationship. And so what you find with YouTube, it's all about them, they're the other. Again, we don't know how, like I said, I've been with YouTube now, 2000, you can go, and that's a nice part of YouTube, you can go and look at the stats. I've been with the YouTube since 2009. I've been making a professional salary for 4 some odd years now. And I really don't understand how it all works. Again, even the partner manager that I just got, I mean, I met him on Google Hangout, but I have to tell you, if my partner manager walked by me right now on this trail, I wouldn't know who the hell they are, right? There's no actual relationship there. And so when you look at it, when you look at all the problems that are going on with YouTube right now, what it really is that both sides are the other, right? YouTube, as a corporation, wants to simply seems to want to act as a platform, and therefore they want to do all the technical stuff. And the content creators are just kind of like these people that put stuff onto their platform. They want to focus on 4K and 8K and live streaming and all that kind of stuff. We are just kind of people that put stuff on the platform. You know, all the content creators, again, we're the ones that create all the content and do all this stuff. And then the people that we deal with that are so vital to everything that we do, again, are these people that are behind the walls, like, ooh, you may get to talk to them, you know, once every year or something, but there's no real communication. Like even with my partner manager, I don't really know who my partner manager's boss is. I had a Google Hangout with my partner manager's boss, but like if I had to find him again, I'm not sure I could, right? Don't even know if he still works, right? And so like, and there's things like, and if I lost my partner manager, let's say my partner manager was going snowboarding and flew off a cliff or something, like I wouldn't know who to contact. So like with my sponsors, right? So I have sponsors and we have relationships. And so I have the person that I deal with these sponsors. And so if somebody disappears, I can go and I know who their boss is. So I can ping their boss and just say, hey, I just want to make sure, are we all good? Is the person on vacation? Did they get fired? Did they have a heart attack? Just want to make sure what's going on. And they can either say, oops, yes, they did have a heart attack. Or they can say, no, let me smack them in the head and have them email you back. But I understand how that works, right? Whereas I say with YouTube, that person could die. If my person dies, ha ha ha. Everybody laughs when I say that kind of thing, but haha, like if he dies, like seems like a nice young person, but you know, nice young people have heart attacks. He has a heart attack and he falls over. I have zero confidence about what would happen after that, right? And that's the thing is like if you have a relationship, then you know, oh, okay, well, this is who you talk to, this is who you call. And so one of the ways that I have like relationship with like my sponsors and all that is that I've actually met them. I've gone there again, like with Spiceworks. I was at Spiceworks for not a month, a week, you know, so I was there, understand how it all works. And I mean, if I really have to track down the damn CEO, I know enough, like literally, I know enough to be able to track down the damn CEO of Spiceworks if I really needed to. I'm not going to, hopefully, but I really need to. Like these other companies, the same thing. And so if I'm really looking at it, it's like, you know, what is the core problem with YouTube? And the core problem with YouTube is that YouTube has zero relationship, or very, very, very little relationship with the actual content creators, or at least most content creators. Again, as I say with myself, I mean, at this point, I should have more of a relationship than I do. I mean, they're giving me the bare minimum to keep me around. But it really is the bare minimum. I mean, I emailed my partner manager a couple of days ago, and I haven't even got an email back. Like there's an issue. It's not a huge issue that's going on. It's kind of like one of those long-term issues, or could be a long-term issue. And so I emailed him with some screenshots and things, and so just say, hey, I just want to know what's going on here. You know, what exactly is happening. I can't talk about it because it violates terms of service, but there's something that, you know. Anyways, emailed him, and that was like 2 or 3 days ago. And like haven't received any response at all back. Now, oh, hey man, yeah, I'll definitely look into this. Or hey man, it's a fucking platform. It's the algorithm. Deal with it, right? Like nothing at all, right? And so that's one of the things, like I say, with the YouTube, it's like, oh, you know, who am I going to talk to if something happened to this person? And so what I would argue, if we really were going to go, we're really going to talk about what we need to solve YouTube's big problems, is I would argue the number one thing that we need from YouTube is a YouTube content creator conference. I'd actually say multiple conferences to actually start binding YouTube content creators and YouTube into a real community, right? You know, again, people I trust are people that I've had coffee with. Again, like I say, Grade A seems to be nice. We're emailing back and forth. But I don't know him until I have shared a beverage, right? When I have shared a beverage with somebody, that means there's a basic level of trust. That means we have a relationship. It's like, if we have never shared a beverage, there's just no relationship. I don't know, it's just a psychological thing. I sit there, man, we can have like some little Greek coffee. We can have like a 2-ounce coffee together, and that's still sharing a beverage. There's something about that bonding thing. And then when you bond, again, then you can communicate easier, then you know who the other people are, then you know what's going on, then you have a community, all that kind of stuff. So what I would argue is that they need to have a creator conference or convention, actually multiple of them. Now you may be saying, well, what about VidCon or Playlist? The thing is with VidCon, I've never been to Playlist. I think Playlist is more for music people. But the problem with VidCon is just, it's so much about the whole YouTube experience. And so you have like 13 screaming prepubescent girls running around. And again, nothing wrong with 13,000 prepubescent girls, but it's not really that useful that I found as a content creator. It's like you go there, you've got so many people packed in there, you've got so many, so it's like maybe like 2,000 creators versus like 13,000 viewers or whatever, and it's just like this kind of like this weird thing. It's like I would argue that VidCon is far more of a meeting, like an organized meet and greet than it is like an actual convention. It's like it's like a fan fair, a fan fest, something like that. It's where creators can meet people and do autographs and all that kind of stuff. But it's not really a lot more than that. I went to some of I bought the industry pass when I was there. I went to a lot of the seminars or whatever, and they were just very, very just, I don't know, just very, very simple seminars. It wasn't very anything impressive. It seemed more along the lines of let's beat our chest. Look at how cool I am versus this is how you do what I do, if you make sense. So basically what I would say is that YouTube itself needs to actually run the conferences and have their employees there and have their people there so that we can have conversations, that we can actually talk. So, talking about things like have an engineering track or whatever, where they talk about how the different technologies work, when they're actually streaming out videos, how does the encoding process function? Again, if you're only uploading like one video a month, you don't really care how the encoding process functions. But like for somebody like me who uploads a crap ton of content, a metric ton of content, as some people say, it matters how encoding works. How long should 4K encoding work? If I upload a 4K video, when should I expect it to be ready? Not only when should I expect it to be ready locally, but like one of the issues that I've seen is since they use something called a content delivery network, that things get encoded in the United States before they get encoded in Europe. So like when I publish a video, many times it's great for viewing in the US, but the encoding process isn't done in Europe, and so you run into problems. So you can have, you have the people talking about how does their infrastructure work. You have seminars on how the infrastructure works. You have seminars on how AdWords work and how AdSense or whatever the ads work. You have seminars on how to do, video SEO that they actually want us to do, right? I mean, again, one of the big problems with YouTube is, it's this business, and the more we comply with their rules, the better we will all do, and yet nobody seems to know the rules. So again, just have seminars on the rules, right? This is how video SEO works. This is how the community guidelines works. This is how copyright works. And even simple things like having classes on, if you're going to be doing something as far as fair use is concerned that may violate fair use, this is how you go about getting a license. All right? I mean, that's one of the problems. I see so many content creators, they get into this completely new. They have no business sense at all. And so they have no idea that they should be approaching people for licenses. So just simply like, okay, if you're going to use a piece of content from another YouTuber, this is an appropriate process for how you would go about doing it. And then while you're there, you do things like, you get to meet with your partner manager. So you get to meet with your partner manager and have a one-on-one and go out and have a coffee. Poor partner managers are going to be like bouncing from all the drugs in their system. They'll have like 20 cups of coffee and 30 beers, right, by the end of it. But go and talk with your partner manager, and go talk with the boss of your partner manager, and go and talk with all the other people, right? Not only that, but if you focus it on content creators, then you can have all the content creators come in, and then we actually get to meet each other, and we get to talk, and we get to see what best practices are, right? Because realistically, at this point in time, none of us are really competing against each other. The market is still huge. As far as YouTube is concerned, none of us are really in competition with each other. Basically, you know, most viewers figure out what niche they like. They watch videos within that niche. And for most of us, we're just not putting out enough content to really be stepping on too many other people's toes. So we can talk with each other, and we can figure out what best practices are. You know, how does Linus do things? How does Barnacules do things? How does Chris Perillo do things? You know, why they do one thing and not another, and actually be able to have these conversations. And if you have conferences like this, it then binds everybody together so that we feel like a real community. And again, one of the things you have to be thinking about is once you start feeling like a real community, you're a hell of a lot less self-destructive, right? If I actually feel like I have a relationship with my partner manager, I'm going to be less likely to firebomb him. Not figuratively firebomb him, But you know what I'm saying? Like, if I actually know the person, and I actually like the person, and I know that they're married, and I know they have kids, and I know they have a mortgage, you know, when something does go bad, I'm gonna be slightly less likely to go thermonuclear on their ass. Because, you know what, I really like their wife. Their wife is so sweet, and their wife makes those really nice little cakes. And if I go thermonuclear on her husband, she's never gonna make those little cakes again. I really do like those cakes. So you know what? I am gonna still have to like pressure the guy into doing what I need done. But we're not just gonna go like full ballistic, right? And that's the thing you have like with relationships, when you actually know people and we have a community, then like I say, people are less likely to get so frustrated and completely and utterly lose their crap. So I would say you have these conferences, again, you have lots of technical seminars, you know, the Final Cut Pro versus Adobe Premiere, you know, how you do this, how you do that, how you get licensing. Just there's all of this stupid technical stuff. Again, as I say, like I finally figured out lighting. I've been doing this stuff 6.5 years, and I figured out lighting like a month ago. And I'm willing to admit that. I'm one of the only YouTubers willing to admit how stupid I am sometimes, right? But again, like things like lighting, things like sound. You guys do not know how hard sound is. Especially if you're doing like dynamic stuff. Like sound is a real pain in the ass, because I know everybody says, Eli, you just need a lapel mic. And the problem is, like with lapel mics, I'm so movie, I move so much, and so the lapel mic can actually pick up sound from the lapel location. So if it starts moving around or something clicks, you can actually get it. And so that's the thing, is you could have seminars, and you know, this is how you do this. You know, this is what you use for this kind of sound, and this is what you use for this kind of sound. This is what you use for this video cameras, blah 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 blah, and all this technical stuff. It would be rather inexpensive for YouTube to do. Again, YouTube is bringing in billions and billions and billions of dollars. YouTube is willing to give, like again, the other year, they gave $100 million in grants? $1 million basically scholarship or whatever to all these different YouTubers just to create higher quality content. And you're like, motherfucker, instead of trying to pick winners out of all this, which you're probably not going to do, is why don't you do that same investment just more across the board so that we can all learn best practices, right? Instead of giving PewDiePie $1 million, when the boy like last year like cleared 4 million, you know, giving him another $1 million, I'm not really sure what that does for YouTube. Whereas if you invested that same kind of money into a whole bunch of other creators with just these small things, the classes, the seminars, the blah, blah, right? That could actually be really, really valuable. And so what I would argue is you have these conventions, you have these conferences. If you're gonna do it, I would argue you do it once a year per continent, So a question came up, is like, well, why don't you do more? So grade A emailed me back, say, well, why wouldn't you do more? Wouldn't you want to meet more often? And what I would argue with like these conferences and things is that, you know, it takes a lot of time, energy, and money to go to conferences. I know, because I go to so many. And so the more you have, I think the actual attendance rate would go down. Right, so if you know there's 2 or 3 or 4 conferences in the United States every year, then, well, you'll just go to the next one, right? You know, your wife's feeling a little under the weather, you don't really have the money, you'll go to the next one. And the next one comes up, and you're like, well, you know, I really want to go, but there's something else. And then you end up not going. Where if you do it just once a year, kind of like with VidCon, I mean, VidCon got up to like 20,000 people, 20,000 attendees, and they actually had to cap it. So I would argue do that once a year. You slot it out for 3 or 4 days, whatever turns out to be appropriate. You get everybody there, and I think that would be an amazing thing. Now, why I would argue you do it once per year per continent, basically, essentially per continent, is because then you run into the issues. Like if it's all US centric, if it's all United States centric, then you're gonna get all the Americans coming, right? And you're gonna get some Europeans, but it's gonna be a long trip. Again, I've looked at it, you know, for me to go to Europe or for me to go to Asia, you know, it's a long flight and it's an expensive flight, especially with how, what's happening with the euro right now. And so the thing is, if you make it entirely United States centric, the problem is then it becomes United States centric. And as I would argue, YouTube is a global enterprise and should treat itself as a global enterprise. So if you're going to be doing things like conference or anything as outreach, you need to be outreaching to basically everywhere that you have a good market share. So I would argue is you do like one in the US. Sadly, it'll probably be in California. I would prefer it's in New York City, but probably be in California. So you do one in the United States, you do one in Europe, and then I would argue you do one in like Asia. If I was gonna randomly pick things, I figure, you know, one would be in California, because frankly, that's a lot where the techie and all those people are anyway. So you do one in California. With Europe, you'd figure out someplace, probably not Britain, like maybe Paris or something like that, something kind of central. And as far as Asia goes, again, I would say probably something central, Thailand, Bangkok, something like that. And the thing is there, is it still may be a flight for a lot of people. So like some people may say, well, Eli, you know, if it's in Europe, let's say it's in Paris, that means people from Britain are still going to have to fly in and people from Greece are still going to have to fly in. But again, what I would say is, you know, there's a bit of self-selection bias here. You know, are you a real content creator or not? Right? You know, people pay a crap ton of money to go to Comic-Con. People pay a crap ton of money to go to VidCon, right? 20,000 people go to VidCon. So I would argue anybody that would be bitching and moaning about a shuttle, you know, a flight from the UK to Paris or whatever, probably aren't going to be the people that are going to be that interested to go anyway. So again, you keep it nice, you keep it concentrated, and you get people to come in. The other thing too is if you do that in the international locations, you could do some really cool stuff. And like people like me would be willing to go international. Like if there was an actual YouTube conference in Europe, I would be happy to go to Europe. I'd probably go for 3 weeks. I'd probably go for a month. Be like, dear, I gotta go to this conference for a month. A conference for a month? It's like, well, conference is actually 3 days. The other 27 days, we're just gonna be screwing around. It's like, oh, okay, right? And the thing is you get to go there, and again, the people that are really interested will get to go. We'll get to see what people in other countries and all that are actually doing, get that experience. Again, with Asia, you can start to have that actual communication. Again, I would be more than happy to fly to Asia for a real YouTube conference, and you get to have that communication. You get to have more. Again, you start to get that global community. You go, you start talking with people. What are the people in Thailand doing? What are the people in Japan doing? Like, oh, that's a cool idea. Because again, that's one thing that I don't think YouTube really understands in a lot of ways, is that the thing that makes YouTube so powerful is like the creativity. It's the people doing things that nobody else expects to be successful. It's the random guy walking in the woods with a video camera on a pole. Can you believe people actually watch this kind of stuff, right? And so if you have people going to all these different places, they can go and they can assimilate the types of things that they do there and bring them back to their places and, you know, start new, cool, amazing things. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I would argue, like with if I was going to say, what's the number one thing, you know, if there's three things that can be presented to YouTube, I would argue, for me, I would strip it down to the one thing, because I believe the convention or conference, whatever you want to call it, hosted by YouTube, taken seriously by YouTube. Not one of these fucking, oh, we're gonna give it $1 million and then we're gonna send all of our fucking interns that have only worked for YouTube for 3 weeks. I'm not saying that shit. I'm saying you bring in the people that actually control our lives. So to do all this kind of stuff, and I would argue that would be the first thing. You give us a community, you give us a business partner, and then we can work from there. Once we know that YouTube is in fact listening, it's easier to come up with good arguments, and it's easier to actually, again, have a discussion. Like for most of us, I know most YouTube content creators, we just feel like we're screaming at a wall. Feels like something happens to us, we scream, our subscribers scream, and then somehow randomly YouTube changes whatever happened, and then it just goes back. And we don't even really know what happened. Were we in the right? Again, that's what I told my people in the issue that came with the community strike. It's like, was I in the right? Was I in the wrong? And I just pissed you guys off enough. You decided, well, screw it, we'll just let it slide. Like all the issues that I had, like there was just nothing going on, right? So that would be when I would say, is create a community, and I think through conferences and conventions and all that kind of stuff, that's how you could do it. Especially, again, like I said, as you start to have multiple. So, you know, year after year, you go back, you talk with people. Again, you start befriending people. Because the issue that I see, the big issue that I see, is most content creators really have no idea how, like, technology infrastructure works. Again, I mean, and the biggest thing you can see with this is where everybody complains about that revenue split. You hear so many YouTubers complain about the revenue split. And the reason they complain so much about the revenue split is that they have no idea how a streaming service works. I mean, again, like I upload a 30 gig file that, you know, multi-bitrate switching means that gets encoded 5 or 6 or 7 times. Then not only that, if you have a content delivery network, all of those versions are copied. God knows how many times over multiple data centers. And then simply having the bandwidth so that when somebody goes to watch the video in 4K, it shows in 4K. And then not only that, you know, the ad revenue that we do get, you know, whatever that split is, the fact that we don't have to do anything for that. Again, I've got sponsors right now, and I love sponsors because sponsors pay me more money, but they're more of a pain in the ass. Again, I got one good sponsor right now. All they have to do is give me a fucking shout out, right? It's like, okay, they've already sent the check. All I need is a shout out so I can start shouting it out. But then they sent me some weird thing. It was like, I can't do that. And so I said, you know, and it's like, so I told them I needed a shout out. So then they sent me this, like, because I told them 144 character tweet length shout out. They sent me something that's like 500 characters. So then I had to send back to them and say, no, I can't do 500 characters. Bring this back down to 144 characters. And then I'm still waiting on that. And again, that's the kind of thing like you don't have to worry about. You know, when people send you checks, you know, is it going to clear? Is it not going to clear? When are they going to send you the check? You know, with YouTube and their monetization and all that, I mean, you just do your content, you upload your content, money gets dumped into your account. And if that's how you just kind of assume, like platforms magically do this, then you can bitch about the revenue split. But again, if you have any idea how infrastructure and all this works, then you're not going to be so mean about things like the revenue split. And I would argue the same thing goes through, like I say, when you start talking about things like fair use, is you start to actually have discussions about fair use. Because I would argue most of the people, as far as fair use is concerned, are beating the hell out of fair use. I mean, that's one of my biggest problems with the whole where's the fair use movement, is once I really started researching it, because everybody got on my case after I did that one video. So I went out there and I really researched, and oh my God. You know, where's the fair use? I mean, beaten, bloody, half raped, and handcuffed to the radiator where you left her. You know, it's just like, and people don't even realize that. Like, it's just like fair use is just this thing. If I create my own content and I transform this somehow, it's all fair. And it's like, right? You know, legal issues. Again, like I say, the DMCA. Like, a lot of people don't realize that these copyright takedowns are actually pretty good for content creators in a lot of ways, because they keep these things from going to court. I mean, nobody really thinks about it. These copyright violations. Again, like I say, I've been emailing Grade A, like all of these different like lawsuits about copyright violations on YouTube. And what nobody has said is, thank you, YouTube, for preventing us from getting sued. Right? And so if you start to have this conversation, you start to talk to people, and everybody starts to really understand what's going on, and we are really a community that is trying to build something bigger. Again, it's a lot easier to deal with. People are more motivated. People are more confident. Again, like I say, for me, as far as like the community and all that is concerned, I mean, my biggest problem is that I don't trust YouTube. I really don't. Like, you know, again, all snark aside, all whatever aside, you know, I'm doing a lot of outside things. Like, I would be more than happy just creating YouTube videos. I really would. I'd be more than happy just creating YouTube videos, trying to increase the content, trying to increase the quality of the content and all that kind of stuff. The problem that I see is I do not trust YouTube. I do not trust YouTube. I see it as a platform. And I understand how platforms work. Again, you know, you have a platform run by algorithms. The fact of the matter is I'm going to go against that algorithm at some point. I'm a human competing against an algorithm. Algorithm's always going to win. So if it's a platform, if it's an algorithm that I'm dealing with, I have to know at some point all of this is going to get shut down, all of this is going to disappear. Therefore, I have to have a plan B. And what I don't think YouTube really realizes is plan B requires resources. Plan B requires time, energy, money. Again, INE is hiring me to go and create content for them that will be separate from YouTube. The IEEE is hiring me to teach a class. Has nothing to do with YouTube. There's other things that are going on. I've created the meetup group as like a technology mastermind thing. Again, the more I do that, the less time I have for YouTube. I do the Skype meetings. Again, Skype meetings, not bad. It's $1,000 a month though, right? But I do 2 hours of Skype meetings a day. That's 2 hours of time I'm not spending towards YouTube. And I think that's one thing. Like, YouTube is all big about, well, you know, this shouldn't be your only stream of income. But again, every business requires different resources. Every business requires energy. So if I can't trust YouTube, that means I'm going to be putting my energy into other things, which means that's money YouTube's not getting, right? That's content YouTube's not getting, the whole 9 yards. And so if we feel like we're more of a community, I think a lot of these things work out a little better. And again, the other thing too is if partner managers actually had to face dealing with us. Again, I think that's one of the big issues. I think the big issues is Alphabet now, but Google essentially, is again, it's a technology company. It's all about infrastructure, this way or the highway. And so even for their human interfacing people, there's still that mentality. Again, we talk about culture, we talk about technology business culture. And so since at most, they only have to deal with us through Hangouts, they can kind of be asses. They can kind of like not really have to worry about us, right? Because worst case scenario, they're only ever going to see us through Hangout. Now again, imagine with all those people, with all those Google or Alphabet or YouTube employees, imagine if they know that at least once a year, you're going to be dealing with Eli the computer guy. Hey, remember those emails you didn't get back to me about? Guess what? I'm gonna be saying hi, and we better work out something, or I'm gonna go down the corridor and find your boss, and then I'll be having a real discussion with your boss. And again, if you're sitting there and like, oh my golly, you know, Eli is a bit of an ass. If he doesn't feel that I'm dealing with him properly, he will go and he will back my boss into a corner, and it's just going to be a nasty conversation. Then you're just kind of thinking, you know, I just may want to spend a little extra time on figuring out Eli's problems, making it a little nicer. Again, I understand how much power I have. I don't have a lot of power. If I push it too far, then people they're just gonna consider me an asshole and just dump my channel and not deal with me. But again, there's a difference between not going too far and being able to push. And, you know, if you have those partner managers and they know that they are going to have to deal with all of the channels that they interact with, it's a different thing. When you know you have to sit across the table and deal with somebody, it changes your mindset. It changes the way you deal with things. So that would be my thought. My number one thing. I will not give 3 options. I will not give 20 options. I will give a single thing that that grade A should tell YouTube to do. And I do believe it is the conference. The conference is truly a relatively inexpensive thing. It is something that can immediately start building a real community. And I would argue the community is the biggest thing. Again, you know, that's the thing. If any Google or Alphabet or YouTuber people are watching this, what is the number one thing in any technology business? Any of you folks out there ever try to start up company, go to a startup company, anybody trying to deal with technology companies, what is the number one thing? It's company culture. Company culture, company culture, company culture, company culture. Do you mesh with the company culture or not? Again, when people talk about salaries, when they talk about benefits package, when they talk about whether they should move for a company or not, that's really usually irrelevant stuff. It's, do you mesh with the company culture? If you mesh with the company culture, things will go well. Things will just naturally go well. If you don't mesh with the company culture, again, no matter how much they pay you, or what the benefits are, it ain't gonna go well. And so what YouTube really needs to work with the content creators is start creating a culture. It's not a white culture, it's not a black culture, it's not an American culture, it's not a European culture. It's a creative culture, a culture of creators where people come in, they throw up the videos of what they've done, and people celebrate that. That is really what they should go for. Because right now they really don't. And you can see it across the board with a lot of different things. And if you don't build that, things will go bad. So building a creator culture, that would be the thing to do. Oh, that is my thoughts. Oh, it is a beautiful day. It is so nice. I say like 70 degrees right now. I have my shorts on, have my shirt on. The only thing though, unfortunately, it is gonna get warm enough the ticks are gonna start coming out soon. That's the thing with this part of Maryland. There's lots of ticks in the grass, like once it gets to be a little bit warmer. So sadly, it'll be fun to do this nice little walk for probably about another month. And then all the ticks will start crawling out and trying to suck blood. And the sucking blood actually isn't the bad part, it's Lyme disease. Ugh. Lyme disease is a beast. You're like, Not only that, have you heard that with ticks? Like, this is true story for all the vegans out there. Yep, all the vegan, there's vegan terrorists. You gotta be very worried about the vegan terrorists if you like meat. Like, why? Because truthfully, they've now recognized that some of these ticks and the tick bite causes a reaction in your body to make you become allergic to meat. Like, there's a protein in meat, and when the tick bites you and does whatever the hell they're doing, basically your body then creates this intolerance, this allergy to meat. Oh, right. So if you have a vegan friend and they try to give you a tick as a pet, yes, it's the latest in pets. Everybody has tick pets nowadays. Just run away. That'd be tragic. Well, unless you're vegan, then you'll probably say, yay! I'd be like, yeah. I actually knew somebody, and they could not eat meat at all. I had a business partner that way. Holy crap, it was funny. Like, you go to a restaurant, like I was going down there, I was getting like some good barbecue. We went to this good barbecue place. Oh my, great, awesome barbecue, just a pile, right? Oh, good stuff. The guy's sitting there with like a baked potato. Salt. I'm like, what? Like, what about butter at least? What about some cheese? And I know. And again, there's some animal, the animal protein. He just, like, zero tolerance for it. He was like, yeah, no. If I even eat a pat of butter, it's all kinds of badness. It's like, that is so sad. I guess I'll just eat your share of ribs then. Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of bizarre stuff when you think about it. When you see what the world is really like, you stop whining so much. It's so funny, like I say, in the modern world. Everybody complains about how bad it is. Oh, Eli, you don't know how bad my life is. And it's like, I don't know. Is your wife pregnant with Zika virus and your kid's gonna come out with like a head that half the size is supposed to be? Like, do you live in a country, what is it, Ecuador or something? Where they're literally telling women not to have kids for 2 years? That's the real world. That's the world that actually fucking exists, right? Oh, but Eli, you don't understand. Gamergate, Eli, Gamergate. Oh yeah. Can you imagine having a tick-borne disease that makes you allergic to meat? Oh, it was funny though. I dropped that dropped a comment about, was it Gamergate misogynistic crap in one of the videos, I think on the Where's the Fair Use video. I've gotten so much hate over that comment. It's amazing how people like pick out like one comment, have a 45-minute video. But the thing that I do have to say, for anybody out there who's all Gamergatey, is again, I don't care if you support video games or your particular video game culture, I guess. But do realize, for people that aren't huge into the Gamergate culture, like again, I actually looked into this and I did my little research like a good little boy. And here's what I found. I found some women and some other people that want to make video gaming more inclusive. Does that make good business sense? I don't know. Did they use some rallying cries and all that kind of stuff? Social justice warrior stuff? Yeah, they did. And you look at it, and so I look at it, and I shrug my shoulders. And it's like, you know what? If women want better representation in these things, what I saw is how many of the gamers just started beating the ever-loving snot out of these folks. Just video after video and video and post after post after post. Just the most derogatory, mean, vicious vitriol, right? And why I say the misogynistic Gamergate crap is so you guys realize, like when I see that, it makes me sad as a man. It truly, as a man, makes me sad to the bottom of my soul. Because you have men out there, you have young males, you have men out there who, this is what they lose their minds over. It's like you look at it and you're just like, really? Seriously? You're either in the world, 18 years old, it is now your world to change, or you're going to be going into the world very shortly. And you believe how to be a man is to just verbally beat the crap out of women and the rest of that. That's just sad. And it really is. Like I said, I've seen a lot, and I was surprised, because again, like I say, with some things, like I said, I don't come down on the party lines with a lot of stuff. And so like, I know a lot of people hate reaction videos. And again, I looked into reaction videos, and it was like, again, I did a whole video. I don't care about reaction videos. Well, one, I don't care about reaction videos, but I don't mind reaction videos. I think reaction videos almost entirely are a pretty good thing, right? And so again, with the Gamergate stuff, everybody, Gamergate, I figured I'd go in and I'd see all this stuff about Gamergate, and then I'd be like, oh, okay, I understand where they're coming from. And it's like, no, what's wrong with you people? Oh my golly, really? This? No further. Seriously? Oh my golly. Problem is, I would say like the US needs another war or something. The problem is we don't have drafts. So the only people that would actually go to war would be the actual men and the actual women who would volunteer to do something like protect their country. Protect their country, I guess that gets a little squirrely. But yeah, it's like this whole thing. Like I was just looking at it, it's like, oh my golly. Look at all that Gamergate stuff. I'm just like, what is wrong with you folks? There is a world out there. There are more problems than people know solutions for. You have Syrian war, you have Syrian refugee crisis, you have all this crap in Africa that, the news reports don't even bother you get around to. You have the stuff in the United States. Again, you want to see a third world country not too far from home, just go down to Baltimore City. Baltimore City, again, my buddy who came from a third world country actually stated there are places in Baltimore City that look worse than the place he came from. You know what I'm saying? And he came running from his old place. There's all this stuff to do. Again, I understand if you like your video games. I understand if you want to be pissy at Electronic Arts or whatever for changing the video games. And by all means, give Electronic Arts or Valve or whatever all of your wrath. But this whole thing just it's just like, it's horrible. I was just, yeah. They're all like, you would understand us. You should get where we're coming from. I'm like, no, it's a fucking video game. Where? How did it go from protecting women to beating the crap out of them for having different viewpoints? That's what I just don't understand with some of this stuff. It's just like something weird has shifted with the whole paradigm with all that. I don't know. Again, you know what white males say? I'll let you guys in a little secret about being a white male. get all social justice people, they're all screaming, they're all bitching, they're all moaning about whatever. They're all saying what should be done. You know what males do? You know what men do? They sit there, they go, uh-huh, and then they go build the world that they want. That's a secret to being a white male. You know why it's a white male world? Because we build the world that we want. And other people talk about how the world should be. Right? Right? So what I would say for all the little men out there who are getting all gamer-gatey, you ain't getting much respect from anybody else. I don't know what you folks think you're doing, but you're not getting respect from anybody else. Because everybody else, all the men, all the women, and all the adults, they're out there building the world. And you're just getting involved in some stupid ass arguments. You know what I'm saying? If you want video games to do whatever the hell you want video games to do, if you want video game reporting, right? So that was a big, oh, but Eli, you're missing out on the video game reporting. Again, if you don't like video game reporting, create your own video game reporting blog. Right? Oh no, but Eli, but that means I'd have to do something. But Eli, don't you understand? My grandfather, my forefathers, they fought and died so I could sit here and play my PlayStation 4 and shove pizza and Mountain Dew in my face and complain about women. I swear to you guys, many of you people are very happy you did not have my family growing up. Because again, my family was not violent at all. They were not like screamy family. They just have this, there's just something like this finality. It's just like, this is how the world will be. And I swear to you, if I bitched and had cried and whined, like I see so many of the young males, young adults doing today, there would have been zero tolerance for it. If I would have been like, my grandfather would look me in the eye and said, I know exactly what the hell I did. Why don't you stop talking about what I did? Start talking about what the hell you're doing. Like, what? It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, in my family, it was, we know what we did. We know what we did. And so we have the right to tell our stories. You, kid, do not. If you want stories to tell, if you want to talk about why you should be great or cool or awesome or all that, well, then go out there and do something impressive, right? True, true. I see a lot of this stuff, and I'm just like, I don't even know. Again, my family would have had zero tolerance. Zero. If I would have been whining about video games, oh my God, if I've been whining about video games the way I see some people, disowning is not even, disowning doesn't even come close to what it would have with my family. It would have just been bad. just bad, right? But anyways, I'm now officially back at the house. So I'm gonna go inside, I'll upload this thing. As always, enjoyed taping this video. I think my wife and I are going out for sushi tonight. So if you're in the Baltimore area and you haven't been to Chiyo, C-H-I-Y-O, it's in Mount Royal? No, not Mount, what is it? It's like, Mount Washington. It's in Mount Washington. It's called Chiyo in Mount Washington. The best sushi in the city. I swear to you, in the entire city, Chiyo has the best sushi. Mount Washington in Baltimore. You just go there, get whatever you want, because it is all completely awesome. So with that, I'm going to go and get some real clothes on and go have some good sushi.